Second, yes. Okay. So, welcome everyone. This is our last session for today of the Opportunities Fair, and we have the pleasure to speak to Maria Sergiotti, coming from the European Personnel Selection Office. So, for everyone that's looking for a job at the EU institutions, this is I would say the best source of information. And so welcome, Maria. If you want, you can present yourself briefly and then talk about the opportunities that you offer.
Thank you very much, Ina, for the introduction, and thank you to everyone who joined our session this afternoon in order to listen to me talking to you about EU careers, so careers in the EU institutions. I work at EPSO, which is the acronym for the European Personnel Selection Office. And just give me a second, I just have a presentation for you today. Okay. So I hope that everyone can see it. And let me dive it straight in. So I'm here today to talk to you about career opportunities at the EU institutions. I will talk to you about what profiles we need for a job at the EU institutions. What does the EU offer as an employer? How selection procedures are organized for officials or permanent officials, as well as how we organize selection procedures for contract agents. And then we will also cover a bit about the trainship opportunities that there are at the EU institutions at the moment and how you can apply. This is going to be about 30 minutes presentation, and then we can have plenty of time to answer any questions you have. We can do it either by raise your hand, I can give you the floor, or if you are shy, you can always write on the chat and I will take the questions from there. So whatever works for you. What do we do at EPSO? So at EPSO, we organize selection procedures, we organize competitions for 10 institutions. And you can see them on your screen. These are the institutions for which, let's say, we work for, where we organize selection procedures in order for them to recruit from the reserve lists of laureates. And now, which are these institutions? You might recognize the logos of some of them. In the first row, we have the European Parliament from the left to right. Then is the Council of the EU, the European Commission, the European Court of Justice, which is located in Luxembourg. And then we have on the second row, the European Court of Auditors, also located in Luxembourg. We have the European the European and External Action Service, excuse me. Then we have the European Economic and Social Committee. We have the Committee of Regions, the last logo on the second row. And then on the third row, we have from the left, the European Ombudsman, which is located in Strasbourg. And we have the EDPS on the right side. And in the middle, you see the globe and you see the European Union flag. Why is that? Because actually, we have around 20% of job opportunities that are worldwide and in other member states, so not just in Luxembourg or in Brussels or in Strasbourg. Therefore, that's what that represents. And let's say about the variety of profiles that we have at the institutions. So we're looking for a variety of profiles that could cover from economists to auditors to IT specialists, to lawyers and secretaries. And one might wonder and say, well, what does actually a job of EU staff really comprise of? What does it include? What do we do? Well, that is difficult to say because that depends actually on the profile that one has. So it could be for an administrator, let's say, that's working on policy. Her task could be to draft policy, to draft legislation and proposals. And it could also be to manage project or carrying out research. or someone with a maybe IT background to develop IT systems, and or from a communication expert to design communication campaigns on social media, on the websites of the European Commission and the other institutions. Or for someone with a linguistic profile, it could be to translate texts, to interpret high-level meetings, or it could also be to organize meetings and conferences. And these profiles correspond to staff categories. So we have a variety of types, let's say, of staff. We have the permanent officials, which are the EU civil servants, I will call them. There are the contract agents who are on a fixed term contract basis. There are the temporary agents who are employed at the EU institutions on a temporary basis, as the name says, and those posts are mainly highly specialized on a specific field. We also have interim staff who are employed for a short term of work, maximum of 6 months, and those are recruited mainly by temping agencies. We, of course, have also freelancers, and we also have seconded national experts. Who are they? These are national or international civil servants or persons employed in the public sector who are temporarily working for an EU institution. And lastly, and very importantly, we have the trainees. So what are we looking for? The main criteria for a job at the EU institution is to have an EU citizenship. So a full citizens' rights from an EU member state. You need to have a minimum of minimum knowledge of 2 EU official languages. And also, it's not an official requirement, but it's very, very important, is the ability and the excitement of working in a multicultural team. That's very, very important for our job. But we do also have job opportunities for graduates, but also for non-graduates. And we will talk about this in the later slides. I will explain you how that works. So what do we offer? An interesting and challenging job. An exciting job where you work on current affairs, that it has an impact in the lives of the EU citizens, where what you do actually makes a difference in the world and in the society around us. We also offer a unique opportunity to work in a multicultural, multinational, and multilingual working environment. That is a unique opportunity that is extremely exciting to work in. There is also the work in the institutions is also a working environment that supports equal opportunities for everyone and also supports job mobility. What is that? That means, because a lot of people think that, well, if you get especially a permanent job, like an EU official job in the institutions, that you're going to do that for the rest of your life. That's not the case, because you do have the possibility and the opportunity, if you so wish, to change jobs, to change institutions, and to change a career, or even a location, if you want. And you can do that by applying internally for an open position. And I will give you an example of that, my own example, as I started my career at the European Court of Auditors in Luxembourg. That's where I was recruited after I passed an EPSO competition, and I was recruited there. I worked there for a few years, and then I wanted to change jobs and institutions, to see something else, to do something different. And then I applied for an internal, as we call them, position at the European Commission. And that was at the Statistical Office of the European Union, which is Eurostat, if you heard of it. That was also located in Luxembourg. I stayed there, and then after a few years, I thought I want to change again. I want to do something different, and then I found this opportunity to work at EPSO, an internal position that I applied. You send your motivation letter, your CV, you sit on an interview, and then you might get the position. And I did. So this time I didn't change institution. It was still, let's say, European Commission, although EPSO works for all the 10 institutions that we discussed. But it was actually a mobility because I changed location. I changed from Luxembourg and I moved to Brussels in order to take on this post. So just to give you an idea of how things work, that you have this opportunity, that you have this mobility, that is extremely exciting and enriching. So actually, an EU career is not just a job for a lifetime, it's actually a lifetime of different jobs. And that's something that not many people are aware of. So what else do we offer? We offer continuous learning opportunities. We have a great learning program where we can follow also for languages, but also to improve our skills, to become better in what we do in our job. We also offer work-life balance, so flexible working hours, possibility to work part-time, to telework, and to go on parental leave. There's also well-being initiatives and a collaborative way of working, which is very, very important. What else do we offer? Very importantly, competitive salaries. You can find this online. Everything is very transparent. All our salaries are available on the internet, and they correspond to grades, which we'll discuss on the next slides. We also have a pension scheme to which the EU staff contributes to, and depending on the individual's personal situation, there is a family and child allowances or schools, and of course we have medical insurance. Now, I will talk you through about the procedures that we organize for permanent officials or for EU civil servants, as we call them. Before we dig in, for the procedure, it's very important to know about the equality and the diversity that we actually apply in our selection procedures. That's very, very important. And what we do at EPSO is we uphold the following principles and objectives that you see on your screen. So we have a clearly defined equality and diversity policy that aims at ensuring that all candidates, regardless of whatever difference they might have, they have access to our competitions. We also ensure non-discrimination on the selection procedures. So what we do is we take various actions and actions in order to avoid, first of all, to identify and remove potential obstacles, bias, or discrimination, to allow candidates to fully demonstrate their skills and compete on an equal basis. That's very, very important for us at EPSO, and we make sure that these obstacles are removed. We also engage with stakeholder groups in order to engage those people with disabilities to apply to our competitions. And why we do all that? Our ultimate goal is to increase the diversity of the talent pool and the diversity of the candidates in order to help the EU civil service to be representative of the citizens, of the diversity of the EU citizens that we do serve. Now, if you have a disability or a medical condition and you want to apply to our competitions or to our selection procedures, then I would invite you to visit our website, where we can find all the information about the adjustments that we offer for the tests, for the interviews, in order to accommodate and remove those obstacles that I just mentioned. Now, let's see about the types of competitions that we have. We have two types of competitions. We have the specialist competitions and the generalist competitions. These are for, as I said, for the permanent officials. So, as the name says, specialist is our specialized profiles. We recently have a competition about maritime affairs and fisheries. And we also had a competition about data protection experts. And at the moment, we have opened a competition about auditors, so administrators in the field of audit. These are specialized fields, and these require professional experience. And these are, you can also have for graduates as well as for non-graduates, and for graduates 86 and above. What does this mean? That's the grade I was talking to you earlier in the previous slide. That reflects on a salary and also reflects on the years of experience that is required to be eligible for this kind of position, competition, excuse me. So 86, we're looking about 3 years of professional experience. and 83 is the same. And then as it goes higher, so there is also an 87, that's 6 years of experience, it goes on. And then we have the generalist competitions, where normally we do not require for professional experience, and these are mainly for graduates. So we're looking at the junior level of 85, that also reflects on the corresponds to a salary. And for those, as I said, no professional experience is needed. I know everybody's asking, when is the next 85 competition, the generalist competition coming up? I know everybody's tuning to listen to that. Why? What's happening? At the moment, we do not have an 85 competition schedule coming up. And the reason for that is the following. And the reason is that because EPSO, together with the EU institutions, are redesigning the competition in order to make it more modern, to make it quicker, and current to the situation that we are all living. So that is the reason why there is no 85 competition at the moment, and it's something that takes a lot of time to design, to schedule, and to coordinate between the institutions and EPSO. So because we won't talk about the generalist competition because it's, as I said, is in design mode, let's see a bit about the elements that there are for a specialist competition, just in case any of you has experience, professional experience, and is interested in a specialist competition. So the 4 elements that you see on your screen are the typical elements, and you see the arrows. The arrows mean that the order of those steps may vary depending on the competition. So most of the case, the talent screen is always at the beginning, is at the application stage, let's say, and the talent screener is part of the application, and it's a set of questions. A set of questions where all the candidates have to apply on the same field, and it's part of the application, and it has to be filled in not the mother tongue, but the second language of the candidate that they select when they do their application. And then we have also the computer-based reasoning tests. These are verbal, numerical, and abstract reasoning tests that take place online. And then also we have the computer-based field tests. So tests which are computer-based, but are especially on the field of the competition. So for example, for the auditors competition that is running at the moment, the computer-based field will be, a test will be specifically on audit subject of those computer-based tests. And then we have the assessment center, as we call it. The assessment center is at the assessment center, we test specific and general competencies. And what are these competencies? This could be like problem solving, that could be also communication, that could be also management skills. But these competencies vary, and they depend on the competition. And they could be different depending on the competition. And that is because it depends what actually the institution that recruits, or the institutions that recruit, what do they actually looking for? So I would advise you, if you are interested on a specialist competition, to read thoroughly the notice of the competition. And that is when the competition is announced, there is a notice of the competition, which is the legal document that describes in detail all the phases and the order. It describes the requirements that you need, the marks that you need to, the pass marks, and it describes also the competencies, and it describes also how you're going to be tested in those competencies. Will it be with an interview? Will it be with a situational adjustment test? So it depends, and all that vary. So it's not that one fits all. That's not the case, because every competition is different, every profile is different, and that corresponds to what the institutions require from the candidates to have for the specific job. So remember, the notice of the competition, it might not be the most user-friendly document, but it's extremely important and actually has key information inside that will help you to understand how the competition is going to go, what they're going to ask, what is the selection board is going to ask, what are they looking for. So if you're interested in any of those, please read it very, very carefully and thoroughly. So I will just do it on this next slide. So now let's say that you passed the selection procedure, okay, and you are made it in the list of the laureates, the successful candidates. And so the successful candidates, it goes to a reserve list, as we call it. And once there is a vacancy in the institutions, the HR services of those institutions that are to recruit, they go through that list and they select the candidate, the successful candidate that they would like to interview. They also have, of course, not just a name, but they have also more information about your performance of the test and your test results and etc. So they have more information rather than just the name. And so they can invite you for an interview in order to describe you what the job is about and see if you are the right fit for what they're looking for. These lists of the successful candidates are valid for at least a year, and they can be that can be extended. It is very important, though, to know that being in the list doesn't mean that you will be recruited, because you could go to that interview from the HR services, but they might not think that you're fit for the job. So it doesn't mean that being in the list that you will be recruited. You could, if you don't pass the interview, then you go back in the list, and then another institution, other HR service of the institution might select you for another interview, and so it goes. These are now what the competitions that are open at the moment. We have the specialist on IT, so information and communication technology, which are open at the moment. They're closing next week. As you see, we have also for AST4, this is for non-graduates, but they do have professional experience. And then we also have for experts on ICT, and these are grades 87, 88. As I said, these correspond to years of professional experience, as well as differences in the salary. And also we have the audit competition, which is running at the moment. 87 is the grade. Also professional experience required. I think it's 6 years, or might be more actually, I'm sorry about that. So professional experience is required, and the deadline is on the 12th of April. And what is coming up? That's very important, and that is something that is on our website, and many people don't know it. So if you visit our website at EPSO.eu, you will find there's job opportunities, a tab, and then under that there are upcoming competitions, and there you will find what you see on this slide. And these are the competitions that we have started working on, that they're coming up. So that gives you a bit of an advantage, because you will know, okay, that is coming up, I better be prepared, let's say, maybe practice, or getting ready for it because it's coming. So you can keep an eye on that, because also when the AD5 competition will come up, then it will be firstly announced there. So the moment we start, we are ready to go, that will be announced on our website, and you can find that information there. So these are what are coming up in the next months. So the first, let's say, half of the year approximately. We have the linguistic assistance, and these are the languages that we will be looking for. So this is Estonian, Croatian, Italian, Dutch, Polish, and Portuguese. And then we'll also be looking for assistance in finance, accountancy, and communication. The grades are still pending, as well as the application dates. And lastly, space and defense specialists, also grade and application date pending. But tune in our website, so you can find more information in the next weeks and months. Now, let's see how you can be recruited as a contract agent. So the first one was about the officials, EU official, permanent staff. Now we will discuss about contract agents. So in our website, we have what we call the permanently open fields. These are what we mean about permanently open. As you see, there's no deadline. So you can, it's actually not really an application, it's about entering the database of EPSO. So what you do is we have these profiles that you see on the screen, and that correspond to a function group. And what does the function group mean? That, as I said, also corresponds to, it's the same with a grade, corresponds to a salary, and also correspond to professional experience, or no professional experience, to education needed. So for the function group 2 and 3, you do not need to have a university degree, but you do require to have professional experience, while for the function group 4, you require to have a university degree, but no professional experience is required in order to be eligible for this field. And as I said, you see a variety of profiles that are available, permanently available in our website. So how does this work? This works by going to our website, where you create an account if you do not already have one, because every candidate is allowed to have only one profile, no matter for how many applications that he does or she does or competitions. One profile per candidate, and you create your profile, and then you enter your data, your CV, your education, your professional experience. And once you do that, you are part of a pool, you're part of our database of applicants. So what has happened next is that recruiting services, the HR services of the institution, they are looking for suitable candidates depending on the vacancies, depending on the needs that they have. So what they do is that they go in that, I think I have it on the next slide. So yes, so here is the procedure, how it works. As I said, you create your account on the website, and then you're pre-selected by the recruiting services of the institutions. And once you're pre-selected, they invite you to sit on tests, which are multiple choice tests in order to assess your general aptitudes. So in verbal, numerical, and abstract reasoning. And those are taking place in your first languages, which means normally is your mother tongue. And you're also invited to sit in a specific competency test for the profile that you're actually applying for and the function group that you're applying for, because not the tests are depending on the level of difficulty depends on the profile and the function group you are applying for. And those tests taking place in language 2, which is your second language. All these tests are computer-based, and you can take them in any test center of your choice. So it could be in Spain or wherever you are located. It's important to know that if you're successful in those tests, these tests, they stay, your results stay available, and you don't have to sit again for a number of years if you do not get the specific job. That's very, very important. And so if you pass the test, you are invited for an interview by the recruiting services that invite you to sit on those tests. And if they think that you are fit after the interview for the needs they have, for the job that they have in offer, then you are recruited. If they do not think you're fit for the job, then you go back to the pool, back to the database, but your tests are still valid for a few years. So the next time that recruiting services invite you, let's say, for the test, they don't invite you for the test, you go straight for the interview because you are already successful in the tests. And so these are the permanent open fields that we discussed. And now here you can see this slide, and also in our website, we have the ad hoc, as we call it, vacancies. These are vacancies that are open with a deadline, as you can see in your screen. And you see the variety of profiles, you see the variety of grades, you see the variety of locations and the institutions or the agencies that recruit. What are the difference? These are the procedure varies because it's the recruiting institutions that you see on your screen that organize the selection procedure. So the tests or the interviews or what they require varies. Also, what else could vary is the eligibility criteria. So you could have FG4, which is function group 4, that requires professional experience, but you also could have another agency or another institution that does not require professional experience for FG4 grade. So what I would propose, my advice to you is that if you find the profile that fits your skills and your education, then you should open the vacancy and read it thoroughly to check the eligibility criteria, the requirements, the tasks of the job, what it requires you to do if you are successful, and meaning that not every vacancy is the same. That's very, very important. So opening, reading one doesn't mean, oh, the other one going to be the same. No, that varies. So once you find one, then open it and read it very carefully and see if you are eligible from that for that specific job. Something else that might be of interest for some of you is that some of those vacancies could also be open for non-EU citizens. That's a bit rare, but it could happen, especially for there are some opening for contractual agents for citizens of the candidate countries, or could also be for citizens from the countries that belong at the European Economic Area, like Norway or Iceland. So depending, that could also be a possibility. Now, let's talk about trainships. Trainships opportunities. So it's very important to know that all the institutions offer trainships. And in our website, you can find a long list of all the agencies and institutions that offer trainships that will take you straight to their website. And the reason it will take you to their website is because it's actually the institutions and the agencies that they organize the selection of the trainees. So it's not done by us at EPSO. So that's very important to know. You can find the list in our website, but I will talk to you a bit about the trainships at the European Commission. We call them the Blue Book trainships. You might have heard them. These are for graduates, so you have to have a university degree, which you have to have obtained, not just still standing. So you have to have a degree in order to be eligible to apply. You need to have a knowledge of at least 2 EU languages, official EU languages, and one of those must be English, French, or German, because that's the working languages of the European Commission. Something else that's very important is that you should not have employment in any institution or agency of more than 6 weeks. Now, I know this is quite limited, but there's a reason behind that. The reason is because we want to give the opportunity to as many people as possible to benefit from a trainship in the EU institutions. So if somebody has done a trainship at the European Court of Justice, then it cannot have a trainship at the European Commission. We want to give that possibility to somebody else who didn't have that chance. So that's the reason behind that. And also for the trainships, you do not need to have an EU citizenship. So there are also limited numbers of positions for non-EU citizens. Once you pass the pre-selection, then you are selected for a trainship. Then the trainship lasts for 5 months. It could be located in Brussels or Luxembourg, or if you choose an agency because you choose your top 3 services that you would like to work when you do your application, it could also be the member states or the location of that agency that you have selected. And of course, these are paid trainships, so bear that in mind. Now, the Blue Book trainships are highly competitive. We have an extremely high number of applications. So in August last year, we had 14,000 applications for the Blue Book trainships. Then they go in the eligibility checks, and then there's a pre-selection of around 2,000 of them. And then we select around 900 of them that they get the offer to work at the European Commission. If you're interested in a Blue Book trainship, then the next session will be open in August 2022 for a trainship that will start in March 2023. And then the next period will be in January. It will open in January 2023 for a October 2023 trainship. You can find all information as well as frequently asked questions, a very detailed website about the Blue Book trainships that you see on your screen, which I would advise you to check if you are interested in the Blue Book trainships. But talking about the Blue Book trainships, I said how competitive they are. We should not forget the trainships that are offered in other EU institutions. So at the moment, if you're interested for something to apply at now, that will start actually in autumn 2022. These are the ones that are currently open. As you see, there's a Trainships at the European Committee of Regions, which is located in Brussels. You see the application closes on the 31st of March. And they're also for those that have a background in law. You might be interested for a trainship at the Court of Justice of the European Union. Applications are open until April 16th. Location is in Luxembourg. Also these trainships start in autumn 2022. And lastly, also open at the moment, the trainships at the European Economic and Social Committee. Deadline for applying 31st of March, location in Brussels, and the trainship will start in September 16th. So this is the end of the presentation. I would like to thank you for your attention. I would encourage you to follow us on our social media. Our handle is EU Careers. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, so that you can you are up to date with the trainships, you're up to date with the competitions, and a few of the contract possibilities that there are. We cannot put everything on the social media, as you imagine, so I would advise you also to look on our website on maybe weekly or twice a month frequency, because there is a vast number of opportunities available, and you never know when you're going to find the right one for you. So both would help, and there's also so that's all from my side. I don't know if there are any questions. I will stop now sharing, and I'm happy to take any questions that you have. Difficulty to stop it.
So if you have questions, you can put them in the chat or raise your hand, whatever is better for you. And maybe just to break the ice, I will ask the first question. You said that you publish like the vacancies before they actually open, but how much in advance do you do this?
That's a good question. We don't publish the vacancies because we cannot do that. But we announce the competition in a way that it's coming. So we announce the subject, the field, and that we do it a few months in advance. So as I said, the ones you saw on the screen and are now in our website, they will be coming in the next 3 months in advance. So I would say it covers a bit at the first half of the year that it's coming.
Okay, great. And I see a question in the chat.
Okay, I want to apply to communication function group 3 and function group 4 for CAS permanent. Typically, how long is the recruitment process? That's a very good question. That is very difficult to say. And why is that? Because when you do apply, you enter the database. And so when you enter the database, it depends when there is a vacancy and where if the recruiting services of the institution will select you to sit on the test. So that varies. It's very difficult to say. It could be months. And if you have, and also an advice is to update your profile every 6 months at least. If you haven't heard anything in those 6 months, just update it and add an information. Maybe you have inquired in between any trainship or job experience that you have gained in that time frame. And but it's very, very difficult to say the recruitment process, because it depends, as it's a database, it depends if and when you will be selected. Okay, so glad that you enjoyed the talk. So I would like to know when the call of 85 is expected. As I said, we're working on it, so there is no 85 competition coming up in the next until the end of the year. Okay, another question. Do you recommend any academy or platform to prepare for the competitions, I guess, for the job opportunities, I guess you mean? Well, I cannot recommend any, because that would be, you know, they are private companies and they get a lot of money. So I should not name any. I know there are, so you can find, or you can ask somebody else who has used them and it's been successful, and then see what best works for you. Apologies, I cannot say more about that. Should I be pre-selected to evaluation center? Any tips for the communication competency test? Oh yeah, okay, that's a very good question, because actually in our website you can find sample tests per field. So if you go, I think it's under job opportunities, you can find sample tests, and you can find also sample tests for the competencies and what is asked. And as I said, these vary depending on the competition. So you would know when you have a competition of your interest, when you read the notes of the competition, you would know what the selection board is interested about the communication, for example. So that varies. It's very difficult for me to say, because varies depending on the competition. But you can get an idea on our website under sample tests. And that's not only for communication, it's for all the fields. There's one question for the communication. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't know how many questions and sample tests there are. I'm sorry, it's only one, but we're working on it. So maybe in the future, keep an eye, because more might come in our website. Let's see, any other question for me?
I think there is also a call open for EU career ambassadors. Can you tell us something about it?
Oh yes, the EU Careers Ambassadors, and that's a project that we are running, where we have, let's say, ambassadors in specific universities. So from Spain, there are specific universities that participate in this program. And the requirement is that those students are in the campus, so they are still studying. They could be studying for their bachelor, or it could be a master, or it could also be a PhD. So it's open to all these three types of students. And what is the role? The role of the students ambassadors is to promote the EU careers. So they work with us at EPSO as multipliers. So we provide them information about what is coming up, how to promote. We guide them, we train them, and they act as multipliers in their campus in order to promote the EU careers for us. And this is important to say, this is a non-paid activity. So what actually the student ambassador gains is the training gets from us, the experience, the networking, and an exciting task that is normally a year, so like an academic year.
Great, thanks. Any other questions?
Okay, I think there is one coming up about probably it's about a trainship, I think. Experience of more than 6 weeks. I guess that's a trainship. Okay, to apply for other trainships. Well, you can still apply, but you won't be eligible. So you will be rejected at the eligibility checks. So if it's more than 6 weeks, you can apply, but you will be cut off on the eligibility test. Excuse me, checks. Sorry. So unfortunately, as I said, it's not possible, because we want to give as many graduates, as many people possible, the opportunity to benefit from a trainship at the EU institutions, and that is in all institutions. It's a common principle, a common goal that we have. They don't have that requirement. Okay, not that I'm aware of. I don't know any institution, EU institution, that doesn't have that requirement. But in any case, you can check the eligibility criteria, because normally it is mentioned there. So if you go, for example, on the website of the European Court of Justice, you will see there it is mentioned that if you have done another Trainships, you won't be eligible. But to my knowledge, there is no exception when we're talking about institutions and even agencies. But yeah, so I will invite you to read the eligibility criteria carefully before applying. Okay, once the selection and testing criteria for 85 have been re-established, will resources be made available from the EU for the study? Well, that's a good question. I won't mention the company you wrote there, because that will be promotion and this will be public, so I don't want to do that. That is, we will have probably sample tests in our webpage and guide you through the procedure, as well as you will find a lot of information on our website and the notes of the competition of how the process will be. As I said, the notes of the competition is something that not many candidates read, but actually has vital information in it about the procedure, what they're going to ask, what they're looking for, the selection board, what it's looking for. So so I would advise you to read that, and also when the time comes to look thoroughly in our website, because there will be probably resources to help you for your preparation. Now, I cannot speak about the private companies because that's their domain. Can we apply to participate in the EU Career Ambassador if your university is not in the list? No, I'm afraid not. Because the universities are selected by the Ministry of Education of the country. So in Spain, I think it's the Ministry of Education, but that varies depending the country. And they select the universities, and we have different universities each year for the same reason, to give as many students the opportunity to participate to our program. So if your university is on the list, then you won't be selected, you won't be even considered. Okay, so
regarding the incompatibilities of internships, I was also wondering if we apply to two different institutions at the same time, what happens if you get selected by one or by both?
That you can do. You can apply at the same time in different institutions. And that's actually a good approach, because that gives you more chances to be selected, especially if one of them is the European Commission, which is extremely competitive. If you are selected by two, which is it's very good for you, then you are in the good position of selecting which one you want to go. And that depends to you, to the person, because depending on your interests. So, for example, if you pass the European Commission and you get the you offer the trainship at the Court of Justice, let's say, depending what your interest. If you are a lawyer, you might want to go to the Court of Justice because it's more specialized. And also, if you're in the European Commission, depending on which department of the European Commission you get the position. So it's very difficult for me to say. That depends on the individual, but I would advise you to do apply for more than one, because you can do that, and then you have more chances to have the trainship in any EU institution. And then if you have the choice, that's great, because then you can see what your interests, the location. Also, the salary may vary between the institutions, depending also the location. So I think the ones in Luxembourg, the salary is higher because the living cost is higher. So, yes, so apply to more, and then you have the opportunity, and then you are in the position to choose which one you want to go.
Thanks. And just to follow up, how much in advance do we know that we are selected? For example, if the internship is supposed to start in September, when are you going to be notified?
That's a very good question. That depends actually on the institution. I know for the European Commission, They will normally say it in May or June, most likely, something like that. But for the other institutions, I think they're quicker. So they might let you know in advance, more in advance, because the number of applications, the number of checks they have to do is the number of applications you get is less. So there's less work that needs to be done. So you probably know earlier if it's a smaller institution, but those also, that information also, I think most of the institutions have it on the website. Definitely the European Commission, you can find the whole schedule of the current, that it's currently open, that they're doing the checks, and then you will see for the next one, so you can plan ahead. For the European Commission is very, very detailed. The website is extremely detailed. The frequent asked questions are in depth, so you can find much more information that we didn't have the chance to cover in this presentation. And you can also find the timetable of approximately, the months that they're supposed to let you know. But as I said, for the smaller institutions, probably that is it's a bigger gap between the time frame is larger because it's easier and less applications.
Okay, any final questions from our members? Get in contact with the Europe Direct offices, that's correct, and ask their questions. No?
Excuse me, I didn't hear you, Inna. Can you please repeat?
That if they have questions, they can contact Europe Direct offices.
That's indeed, yes, they can contact those. And if you want me, I can send you the presentation. If you are able to send it to the participants that are here with us today, I'm happy to do that. In case that helps with the links, maybe it will be easier. And yeah, for further questions, they could help you with that.
Yes, the presentation would be great.
Of course.
Okay, so I think that would be all.
That's great. Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you for everyone who joined us. I hope you find it interesting, and I'll send the presentation so that you have also the links, so it's a bit quicker for you to find them. And stay tuned in our social media and our website if it's something maybe not for right now, but maybe for the future. So stay tuned because things are coming up all the time.
Thank you very much for your time and for the explanations.
Thank you so much. Have a nice evening, everyone.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.